Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay in Baltimore. We're continuing our discussions about Turkey, have a better understanding of its role in the region and its domestic issues. Now joining us again to further this chat is Barış Karaağaç. He's a lecturer in International Development Studies at Trent University, Ontario, and he joins us again. Thanks very much for joining us, Barış.
My pleasure.
So one of the big issues Turkey is facing, and it's been going through recently, is the arrest of many senior members and other members of the military charged with treason. Some people are going to jail. So what is this all about?
Actually, what we're witnessing in the past few years is a change in the political and economic elites of the country. And I think, looking back, this has two dimensions. The AKP government has become an increasingly repressive government, trying to eliminate social opposition. So the two sources of social opposition to the AKP government have come from, first, the secular Kemalists. And many of these people are have been within the armed forces. And the second source of social opposition came from the Kurdish movement. And the AKP government basically used two court cases, one of them being Ergenekon, and the other one, the KCK court case, to silence social opposition. What happened with the military officers, both the retired ones and those in active duty, is what was the way the AKP government was dealing with their opposition and eliminating it.
And why did the military allow this? I mean, one has always thought that the military in Turkey are always this sort of the real power behind the throne. Why did they allow this to happen?
Although those sensitivities within the armed forces, when it comes to secularism and the founding principles of the republic, have always been strong, it looks like a part of the military started to agree with the social project that was being implemented by the AKP government. And this also might have something to do with the incorporation of the armed forces into the existing neoliberal regime through their investments both in Turkey and abroad, through a holding corporation called OYA. So this holding corporation, which was built in 1961, which was established in 1961, first, its initial objective was to make life easier for the officers in the face of economic hardships. For example, if there was an economic crisis, or assist them with funds, or help them with their retirements, etc. But particularly after the 1980 military takeover, it embarked on a number of investments, both in Turkey and later on abroad, and acting like a normal corporation, with the military officers contributing, but at the same time having shares. And this might have also helped in terms of incorporating at least some parts of the military, the armed forces, into the existing neoliberal regime.
Mm. And so the younger, newer, up-and-coming officers were willing to go along with that and thus get rid of the older ones. But is it just the older generation that's been arrested? Or?
It is mostly the people at the upper levels of the command. But another thing is, of course, that we need to pay attention to is what has been going on within the country in the last 10 years. So the transformation of the country based on the project that was implemented, the conservative project that was implemented by the AKP, and it will not be surprising to see many of these armed or of the officers sympathizing, especially the young ones, sympathizing with the AKP government and its policies.
Well, when you say then that there's been this sort of regime change, if you will, I mean, how profound is that in terms of the elite of Turkey? I mean, when it comes to who owns stuff, you know, who owns the commanding heights of the Turkish economy, I mean, has that changed, or we're talking just at the political level here?
Well, there's both continuity and a break from the past. The continuity is the continuation of the neoliberalization of the country, and there's no change in that. We see a very brutal process of neoliberalization. But now, when we look at the elite of the country, well, we have the old elite, again, big capital, and they are there, and some of them, they tend to be, you know, secular, you know, so-called modern, etc. But now you see other people joining the elite whose worldview is more conservative and more based on Islamic principles.
So what is the response of the people in Turkey to all of this?
Well, the response is, in the last general elections, about 50% of the people, electorate, voted for the ruling AKP government. And about 25% voted for the Republican People's Party, which is historically, which is the party of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, which is whose ideology is based on Kemalist secular principles. And about 13% voted for the MHP, which is considered by many people as a right-wing, ultra-nationalist, or by some even neo-fascist party. On the other hand, about 6% of the people voted for the independent candidates who entered the parliament as independents, but they are members of the Kurdish BDP party. And the interesting thing is that the only organized voice that focuses on a different social project, quite different from the neoliberal social project that has been introduced and promoted by the AKP government, comes from the Kurdish opposition. And that's why in the past 3 years, there was such an assault on the Kurdish movement. For example, today, Turkey is the leading country in terms of the number of imprisoned journalists. There are 76 journalists in Turkish prisons, which exceeds by far the numbers in even countries like Iran and China. And 70% of these journalists are Kurdish journalists.
Well, Turkey is a member of NATO. I guess that's why we don't hear this.
Well, very few people hear about these things.
All right, thanks very much for joining us, Barish. And as I
said, it was
my
pleasure.
And we're going to be doing more about Turkey in the coming days. And don't forget, we're in the midst of our fundraising campaign. If you give $1, we get another $1 in a matching grant until we reach 100,000. And if you want to see more of the real news in 2013, we need you to click on the donate button, because if you don't, we can't do this.